Hey everyone, it is Savannah back with another Signature Ways podcast. And today I am so excited for our guest. Last year, he closed 17 deals while being an amazing father, taking these amazing vacations with his 4 children, and runs a very luxury client focused business. So I'm so excited to be interviewing him about this today and can't wait for you guys to get great value out of it. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Caleb to the stage. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm not sure. You could ask my kids if they think I'm an awesome dad. I'm not sure what they would tell you, but
It's a hit or miss. It depends on the day, right?
depends on the day and the snacks provided in that day.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
Love it.
Yep.
So tell me, how did you end up in real estate?
Yeah, so I think it's a pretty common story for agents who buy a house and then they decide on a career change. And what do? They reach out to the agent they used to help buy their house, right? So that's kind of my story. I was in church youth ministry before this career, and at a local church here in the town where we live. And my wife and I got pregnant with our second kid, and then it was just time for a change financially. So I thought, well, what else would I enjoy? And so I reached out to that agent who helped us buy a house. And sure enough, she had just started a brokerage recently. And that's kind of, one thing led to another. And I joined her at that company. So that was in the fall of 2016. And I got licensed January of 2017. A great story there if you want to hear it. So
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, let's hear it. I love it.
yeah, to take my test to get licensed, right? I scheduled that for whatever, I must have been late December, I guess it was, of 2016. And then it was like a day ahead, and sure enough, my wife went into labor with that second kid. And it's just maybe me being cheap or whatever, but it was within 24 hours of when I was supposed to take my test. And so you couldn't get a refund anymore because it was within that 24-hour window. And so if I canceled it, I just was out the money. And so I thought, well, let's see how things go. Sure enough, we got to the hospital. She had the baby that night. So the very next morning, I was like, hey, dear, how you doing there? I'm going to go take this test. And so I left her in the hospital. Luckily, some friends had come to check on her. And so I kind of left them with her. And I went and thought, well, I've had no sleep, a sleepless night of this newborn at the hospital. And here, let's go see if I can pass this test. And so sure enough, took my test that morning, 9 o'clock or so, and passed both the state and national first try. So, hey, that was pretty exciting.
That is really exciting. And I will say Colorado's exam is not forgiving. It's a rough one.
Yeah,
So
it's a challenge.
that's
One people often repeat. So, yeah.
yeah. But oh my God, that is a really fun story.
And what a
And
great introduction for my poor wife into real estate, right? It's like, oh boy, get used to this kind of stuff where I'm going to leave you what you're doing because I got to go do some real estate, right?
yep.
Welcome to the business. But
Okay, yeah, welcome, welcome. Oh, that's hilarious.
Mhm.
Okay, well, your wife is a saint, and I'm sure though that she loves because even though right with real estate, everyone's like, oh, I get in it for the flexibility. I think
Mhm.
there's some kind of flexibility to it. And let's actually kind of jump into this because I think you have like a great balance when it comes to being able to take vacations and spending time though with your family. How does that look with current deals happening? How do you make that happen? How do you make sure you're present?
Yeah, great question. I've certainly gotten better over time with setting boundaries with clients and trying to, and even realize, internally, I think when I was earlier in my career, I would assume that whatever came in my inbox, I better address it, right away. And so if that happens at 7:30 at night while we're having dinner, oh, I better, get up from the table and go address that. So I think over time, I've realized like that there are things that aren't urgent and aren't immediate, and I, can kind of set some boundaries. And that, of course, all relates to the bigger getaways and trips and whatnot, which we haven't done a ton of like big things, but we're just pretty intentional about being together as a family and spend a lot of time together. So even just committed time on the weekends for kids' soccer games or whatever it is we're doing as a family, small getaway trips to visit friends or family. And just making that the priority and realizing that I don't, I do this business and this career so that I can do that stuff that I want to do, not the other way around, right? I don't want to lose out on the family time just to do more real estate, right? It's not about that. So, super family focused, and we do a lot together and just, a lot of just hanging out time, of course, pretty boring stuff, mundane, I guess, but intentional. And that's kind of the life that we want to shape together. So, yeah.
I love that. And I think it's so important to make sure you have that intentional time set aside. And I think it's the most rewarding business in some sense, right? And we're able to sometimes bring great opportunities to our kids and our family. Yet at the same time, if we're not careful, the business will completely run you and destroy those relationships at the same time.
Yeah, keeping the most important things the most important things, right? And so, yeah, just keeping that mindset, I think, is pretty key in this business, or you can quickly get burnt out and swallowed up and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And how does that conversation look with your clients when you're like, hey, I'm going to be on vacation or I have a soccer game, I can't show that house?
Yeah, it's pretty casual. Nothing too I wouldn't say too formal with it, I guess. But just trying to put a plan in place very intentionally. So, for example, planning a trip. I'll just on the back end, before I even tell the client I'm going to be out of town, get a plan lined up for who's going to be covering my business and have an agent, already picked out, and I'm offered to pay them or compensate them or whatever. And that way, when I do, pass the news on to the client, hey, just so you know, I'm going to be gone for next week, but I've got, Joe lined up here. He's going to take great care of you. If you need anything, I'm accessible. But for showings and whatnot, he's going to be the one to do it. So basically, just having a plan in place and not leaving them in the lurch. I don't want them to feel like they've been left in the lurch, right? So, and then the day-to-day is just explain to clients, hey, I am, a family man. We've got 4 kids. And so there'll be times where you won't be able to reach me as well, but I will always get back to you. So just assuring them that, of course, I will be in touch and follow up if there's things that they're needing help with. So, yeah.
I love it. And just because I've experienced this too, have you ever had the client that's like, whoa, no, that's not okay? And do you even work with that client? Like, how does that go?
Yeah, great question. No, nobody's pushed back too much, but I will say I think you kind of, or I found I think you attract people who are similar to you.
Mhm.
I do have a very personable business, in that I'm not out doing like cold calling or door knocking, those kind of things. And so I'm not looking to work with everybody. I don't think that I'm everybody's person, but I am looking to work with people who want to work with me. And that includes working with my, availability and all that. And trust me, I'm plenty available. It's not like I hold strict boundaries by any means. I often will be doing things in the evening when I probably shouldn't be. But yeah, I think that's a great place you can get to in your business if you realize that you don't have to say yes to everybody, and that maybe there's people that are worth referring out to somebody else, or don't be chasing after somebody who's going to make your life worse, right? It's maybe not worth that paycheck. So
Yeah, because then by the time you're just emotionally done and drained. So,
yeah, totally. It feels very much not worth it sometimes. So yeah.
and you started to hit on this. So I think it's a natural transition point when you were talking about clients, you attract the clients you want to work with. And what I saw last year was the people that you were working with, you had such a good relationship with those people. So to kind of tell me, where do you find your people? How do those conversations look? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, if I don't cold call, if I don't do open houses, then I don't have a business. And
Yeah.
obviously that's not the case.
Yeah, certainly. And it really comes with a lot of time in the business and growing your database and growing your business. I understand for newer agents that are just, desperate for, the deals to make make a living. It's easy to fall into that mindset. It's easy to feel like you got to do anything. And so, but for me, I very much at this point am just a referral and database type agent for the most part. I find my business just comes from the relationships that I already have. When I got started, I was working I told you I was in church youth ministry. So I was at a church. So they say in real estate, you should have people that know, like, and trust you, and that's who will do business with you. And so when you're employed at a church, there's a good chance a lot of people in that church, they know you, they like you, and they trust you. And so for me, that was a great launching, pad for starting my business. A lot of those first couple of years were people directly from that church. So that was just a huge blessing, and super thankful to have those relationships already established. And then from there, it's just a matter of being intentional with growing your database and thinking about people to add to your database who are already in your day-to-day life. And then I really am pretty casual with, we can get into this probably in lots of detail as much as you want to, but I'm pretty casual with my like plan for how to convert that into business. I think something I've put towards over the years is that type of business is challenging to track your metrics, right? When people who do cold calling or door knocking or whatever, they can pretty firmly say it took 100 doors to get to 50 conversations, it took to whatever. So they know their conversion ratios. Whereas if I have a database of this many people and I just do some monthly touches and I'm intentional about talking to people when I think of their birthday or whatever, I find that that's a harder thing to put your thumb on. Like, wait, why'd they call me when it was time to sell? I can't exactly point to, one specific thing I did, right? It was this literally years of being in touch with people and just being in natural flow with people. So I'm not, maybe that's a little off of a bunny trail there, but yeah, certainly a database business, I think, is where everyone would like to be if you can. It's just easier business.
100%.
The transactions are easier and just more enjoyable when you're working with your, what feel like friends and family. So, yeah.
Well, and I think part of it too is that you're showing them that you care right out of the gate. And so naturally they want to call you because they're like, he's just always been there through everything.
Mhm.
And I think you're personable, obviously, too. So that makes it helpful, right? You're not like a cold personality by any means.
Sure.
Um,
I think so.
right. At least we don't, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, I just think it just makes such a difference with that communication. So you don't have to talk about real estate every time. You just have to show them, hey, I'm thinking of you. And
Mhm.
naturally, what's going to happen is they're going to go, oh yeah, and he's in real estate, because you are intentional. You're intentional about posting it on social media. So if they're on your Facebook, they know what you're doing.
Sure.
Do you put them on a newsletter? Is there anything else that you're doing that kind of reminds them that you're in real estate, or how does that look?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, one of the things you said in there made me want to emphasize that I certainly want to make it clear to my clients that I'm, their friend first, or friend from or family or whatever it is, whatever my relationship is with them, before I'm a real estate agent, right? And maybe to a fault in that, like, I just maybe it's a fear of rejection or offending or whatever, but I really focus on the relationship piece. Um, and maybe to a fault of sometimes not doing quite enough to remind them, hey, your brother just moved to town. Why didn't I get to help him, buy his house or whatever? So because I've from the start, I've never wanted to be too salesy. Didn't
Mm,
want to be that guy. Oh, he's only calling to talk about real estate. So for me, it's been a constant trying to find that middle road, that balance of being, focused on the relationship versus wanting to be the real estate agent and wanting to be a referral partner with them. And so, yeah, I think that's something I still, I guess, struggle with or am thinking through. But yeah, so for like auto flow, I do like a monthly newsletter, and then very very recently started doing a monthly physical newsletter, and then monthly like coupons things. I've done a couple of different variations of that, whether like a paper coupon to a local restaurant or mainly just touches, right? So just reasons for me to come top of mind with my name and brokerage on there. Even if they throw it in the trash right away or delete it from their inbox right away, they at least saw my name, saw real estate something. So just trying to stay top of mind. Yeah, and then past that, like I am consistently challenged and I probably should be doing more like live touches. I've heard agents that will do like a text with a new listing, say a friend of yours, you saw a new listing in their neighborhood, and just send a, hey, check out this. One of your neighbors is selling. Let me know if you want to check it out. I've always thought I should do more of those kind of things, like the live real estate touches with people who aren't currently shopping, right? But just to be more intentional, and I haven't done that very well. So something I'd like to do more of. And again, always trying to ride that middle road of friend first and then agent when they're ready for them. So
I like it. And I think, like you said too, as long as they can see your name, your brokerage, everything like that, they're like, oh yeah, real estate. And
yeah.
even if it gets thrown away right away, it's still obviously reminding them when it does come time for that, then
Mm-hmm.
they know who to call. And I
Mm-hmm.
think every agent, right? There are times that see things on Facebook and I hear other agents say the same thing and they're like, why didn't they call me? Like I talked to them, they're on XYZ. Like, why did they not call me? And I think it's just naturally what happens, right? Sometimes someone else just was right in front of them at the
Hmm.
exact right moment.
Yep.
Um, and if, we had a magic crystal on all of our clients, then we would know when that moment is, know when to call them, yet
Hmm.
that's not always the case. So,
Yeah, certainly. And it's challenging, it's tough to have kind of that faith that it's going to work, right?
yeah.
You're doing all these touches that take time and money to get them into place, and you're paying for the mailers or whatever it is. And then you're like, well, I hope this works. Hope this pays off. And so that's challenging, as opposed to like calling a list of expireds and knowing your conversion ratios, or okay, I just have to call 100 of them and that'll turn into one or whatever. That's a different kind of business, right? So yeah, there's an element of like trusting the process, trusting that you are going to be that person for them, that they will see your genuine, connection for what it is, and that being genuine, and trusting that, yeah, you are doing the right things. So I think it's important to always be reevaluating what you're doing to make sure it's still, good content, or getting read or opens, or and all that stuff. So it's good to kind of revisit, make sure you're not just set it and forget it 5 years ago, and trust that people are still interacting well with what you're doing. But as long as you're doing that, and then staying on it consistently, I think that's the key.
I like it. I think one thing, and it's funny because this has been a consistent theme through the last few podcasts with people, is the authentic, right? You were like, as long as you're truly being you, authentically being you, then people are going to want to work with you. And I think that's why you attract the people you do, because you're being yourself. And it's wonderful to see. And I just think, especially in a world where so much AI is happening, that authentic self is being forgotten.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and people are starving for that human connection again. And I think you definitely bring that to the table. So,
Yeah, thank you. I think one thing I'm challenged in very recently is writing notes, like handwritten notes. Like, it can be such a gift when everyone opens a handwritten note, right? If you see it
right.
on the envelope, you want to know what's in there. But I struggle with that just because I know that if I wasn't in real estate, I wouldn't be writing those notes, right? I wouldn't be sending the birthday cards. So there's this like middle ground of like, I want to be genuine and have a good, connection. And I do care about your birthday. I am wishing you a happy birthday or whatever it is. But also in the back of my mind, I know that if I change careers for whatever reason, I'm going to stop doing that. So yeah, there's a balance there again, like all things, like life is about balance. But still, I still think you're doing it from a genuine place of like connection. And
Yep.
so even something like that, where I know in the back of my mind, I probably would do it differently if I wasn't in this career. It doesn't mean it's not genuine. It doesn't mean it's not because I care about them, because I do. I just know that I also want to be the real estate agent. And so those things can go hand in hand. And I think that's a good thing to keep reminding myself anyways.
At 100%, you can definitely be both. And to the point, so like, people are like, oh, don't work with friends and family, is what we hear like in other industries, right?
Mhm.
And there are times I also believe that in real estate sometimes when I see some things. But at the
Sure.
same time, for your case, you're coming from a point of friendship and then business.
Yeah.
So in a transaction, when something is, coming up, inspection usually
Mhm.
is the biggest hurdle right now.
Mhm.
What do those conversations look like when they're not about to be a fun conversation?
Yeah, that's tough. I'm in the middle of one right now. Our deadline is actually
Oh,
tonight. And so we're working on the resolution.
so
And
you're not panicking at all right now.
yeah, I feel great. Trust me, my stomach feels great. No, um, yeah, it's tough, especially when there's just, in this case, a difficult seller that I'm on. That's the side I'm on, and a difficult buyer, and a really aggressive agent on the other side too. So it can be super, yeah, challenging. I think those are hard parts of our job. But for me, I think where I found it to be, or like consistent, when it's consistently challenging, is when as far as the piece about not working with friends and family, is if that person, I found, if they're older than me, and may or may not trust my experience, right? Or
Mm,
if potentially when they knew me before real estate, especially earlier in my career when I just started, they might think, or maybe I'm projecting here, but they might think, hey, what does Caleb really know? How is he experienced enough to even handle this difficult thing, right? Because he was just a youth pastor, right? So I think those two times when they're older than me and maybe not trust my experience or knew me before real estate, right? And I think those things you kind of get over. You just kind of get over that, right? You can't control what other people think of you. You just do a good job, be a professional, communicate well, set expectations clearly, guide people through it. Certainly some experience helps you have conversations of saying like, well, in my experience, this is normal, A, B, or C, right, to negotiate or not. So when you don't have that experience, that line may not work quite as well, but you can lean on, other agents in your office or managing broker or whatever you need to use to communicate that experience, right? Say, well, I talked to my managing broker. It sounds like A, B, and C are normal, but D, E, and F aren't. So we probably negotiate that. Anyways, but just be confident, be clear, communicate clearly, set expectations correctly, and then realize and be okay with the fact that it's not your decision in the end. I think it's been a challenging thing in my career that continues to be. Even this week, I'm surprised at how much I'm not carrying anxiety about this specific negotiation, because certainly I've gotten better over time. But earlier on, I would carry all the weight of where are we going to fall out of contract? We're whatever the situation is. But it's like, hey, it's not my house. It's not my decision to make. We advise, they decide, right? That's one of the sayings in real estate is all we do is advise and it's their decision. So at the end of the day, it's not my burden to carry. Once I've done a good job of setting expectations, clearly communicating their options, if the seller chooses some ridiculous position that I personally would never take, but wants to be stubborn or whatever, that's what they want to do, right? I'm their agent, so I'm going to support that, and I'll communicate it as tactfully as I can to the other agent. I think that's one of the things that I really think is important in this business is to not adding stress or anxiety to the transaction. People are super stressed enough to buy and sell a house is, one of the most stressful things you can do. And so I'm sure you've seen, and I've been in transactions where it's very clear the other agent is pouring in plenty of their own stress and drama that isn't helpful to anybody, right? It's not helpful to their client. It's not winning them anything. It's not helping my side at all. And so I've been really intentional about that in my career of trying to take stress out of the transaction. I don't need to add my own personal baggage or drama or opinions into something that's plenty stressful enough, right? So kind of de-escalating, talking people off of a cliff, when necessary. I tend to always spin things from a positive perspective. So if the client says, well, we want this, this, and this, and it's way more than it's reasonable to ask for or whatever, it's always, oh yeah, great. Okay, yeah, that sounds great. And then kind of walk that back and realize, what, I'm really thinking here, if it's in our best interest, we should probably really only ask for this, but never, I try not to be too confrontational with well, that's a stupid idea. That's not going to work. I don't think that's winning over anything.
Even though there are times we want to say that, right?
Yeah. And the flip side of that is that I've discovered too clients that also need a little bit more direct. Some buyers right now that we're closing actually tomorrow, they're doing a buy sell. It became evident in the process of showings, they weren't decisive enough people, that they wanted me to say more of my opinion. They wanted more handholding and direction from, what I thought as their friend and agent. And so that was a surprising twist to me. I really try and be, of course, let the client always decides always, but, don't interject too much of what I think. Whereas I figured out this client, oh no, they're looking for that. They need a little bit of that. And so, that was a cool one in that they trust my experience and they want to know my opinion on things. And so that helped the conversation keep moving, keeping them moving, towards their goals of buying a house. So, again, lost my train of thought there a little bit, but it's all related in, how we handle clients well and communicate clearly. And
Well, and I think a few points, the expectations, I think setting that up front. And I think it's one of those things people are scared to set those expectations with clients of, when we get to the inspection period, this is what it's going to look like. And these are commonly the things that people are going to be asking for. If you start asking for things like doorknob colors to be changed out, or just there was a resolution or a objection I saw recently that I just was
Mhm.
like, okay, this is like $200 worth of stuff. Like, well,
Yeah.
really?
What are we doing
We-
here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a
And I'm like, this
$600,000
is,
house.
yeah, but I'm like, but it's going to take us to get all these contract, like all these things. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yet it's one of those things I think that, if you set that expectation with the buyer or seller up front of, hey, this is typically what this looks like, and then just setting the expectations with them. Okay, if you're going to ask for this laundry list of things, do you understand that, these are the ways the seller can answer you? Are you okay taking credits?
Mhm.
Because if you don't set those expectations, then people get riled up because they don't actually understand.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
And yeah. And additionally, I think when you were talking about also you care so much about your people, but at the end of the day, you don't care about the decision that they make
Mhm.
because ultimately you understand they're doing what's best, what they believe is best for them. And
Mhm.
even sometimes, though, we can disagree with that. If we emotionally become involved so deeply in every transaction, you get so burnt out
Yeah.
by the time it's all said and done.
Yep. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and your the other, things of the other parts of your life suffer for that, right? Like we
Mhm.
only have so much emotional
Yes.
capacity. We only have so much bandwidth. So a house full of kids that have plenty of their own things that they need dad, to be present for, emotionally available for, be it, being a supportive husband, like that all takes more emotion, right? And so if I'm using up all my emotion, bandwidth, because of a stupid transaction that 5 years from now I will not remember and will not matter, then that's my priorities aren't right, right? So,
Right.
yeah, having just that, the proper mindset and prioritizing that emotional bandwidth, I think is super important.
I love that. Yeah. No, that was, I think, such a good thing to bring up just because I think there's just so many people that get so emotionally involved with the other agent, right? And I think
Yeah.
sometimes we forget that the other agent is working for their client.
Mhm.
Everyone is doing their best. And if it's a newer agent, maybe they're just learning or they've been burnt or they've seen a certain situation. And at the end of the day, everyone that's involved is still a human.
Yep.
And I think you definitely have that perspective.
Yeah, yeah, try to, and just try to, yeah, take stress out of things. In here in Northern Colorado, it's a small sandbox, as they say. So, it's very likely I'll run into these agents again in another transaction. This
Hmm.
one stressful one I have is a Denver agent, and so, anyways, it's different there. That's a
Well,
reason.
Denver's always on our every year in the contracts class or the
Oh
ACU.
yeah, the
Yeah, like
problems. That's where they come from. Yeah,
they all come
exactly.
from Denver.
Uh, yeah, but with that, bigger picture, mindset in mind, I think is important is that we're going to run these agents again. So like,
Yep,
there's no reason to burn bridges or really offend or
100%.
trying to put your foot down for an extra couple $1,000 in a negotiation isn't worth that on the back end. So yeah, just keeping that perspective.
Love it. So, what is something you do to go above and beyond for your clients at any point?
Um, man, yeah, it's funny because I think I could do more, right? I always wish I'm that kind of, that's just my default is I always like, I'm always thinking about more things I should be doing, different, touches, that kind of stuff that I should be implementing. Something that's been well received though is my closing gifts. I've gotten people like a really nice like rock for their front yard that's engraved with their last name on it, and like I had my rock guy
Really cool.
design a cool Colorado logo with mountains in the background. And so it's Colorado, right? The logo and then their name. So it's just very personal, and people love them. And from my perspective, they're I don't know, they're $120 or $50, something like that. But they stay right in their front yard. They stay right by the front door, and everybody they have over sees it. Like, well, that's so cool. Where did that come from, right? So I think it's a great marketing piece. Tell my accountant that because it's a write off, right?
Right,
Um,
exactly.
but
100% is. It's
closing
free
gift
advertising.
marketing all day. But yeah, those have been really well received. I think it's a fun gift. I know a lot of people just get consumables, whether it's
Mhm.
food and wine and all that, and that's all great. I might do that in addition to sometimes, but just something a personal touch that has been a fun thing for clients. But as far as like in the process goes, I can't nothing too different than other agents, but just being right there with them the whole step of the way, being positive. I think that's a huge part, is just staying positive in the process. It can be a long process for people and exhausting. So just trying to stay upbeat and affirming what they're doing, and just keeping that, the end goal in mind. This is going to be worth it. You guys are doing great. That kind of stuff, I think, adds a lot of value to people, that make them feel supported and seen and encouraged along the way. I think that's what leads to positive reviews afterwards, right? Is those kind of things that maybe it's not exactly tangible, as to I didn't bring them coffee every time I saw them or something like that, but just was present, got questions answered in a timely manner, didn't let things, balls get dropped. If I make mistakes, which of course happen, I try and make it right however I can in the situation. Just being that level of agent that is present in every transaction, and helps people through the finish line.
And I think that's your key thing, and your value is that you're present, right? Not only are you present at home, but you're also present with your client. You're hearing what they're saying. You're guiding them actually through the process, where I have seen it where agents, like, they bring on a new client and they're like, okay, cool, I'll talk to you when there's something to update you on, versus they feel like you're in the trenches with them.
Yeah.
Yet, even though you're able still to keep that emotional disconnect a little bit to make sure you don't get burnt out. And I think that's honestly, you're above and beyond, because it's hard to master that. And I think you have. So,
oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So anything I didn't ask you today that you would love to share with everyone?
So I would just advise, other agents, especially other agents. I think people who listen to podcasts and are trying to learn are often newer in the business and want to know, what they should be doing. So I guess I would just lean back on trusting the process, trusting, the things that you're doing that are going to play out. I think having a thorough database is really key and important. Using a good CRM. I am not set the tasks in the CRM, and every day I open it up and I see what tasks they have for me to do that. I don't do that. I mainly use my CRM as a glorified, spreadsheet, but I have it. And so people are on my mind. I'm looking through it. I'm trying to keep it up to date so that people are getting, the pieces from me, the touch pieces from me. And so whatever it is that you're doing for a touch campaign or mailers or invites or whatever it is, just make sure you have a thorough database, right? You're not going to get very far if you don't have that. And then just be yourself, be genuine, think of ways to connect genuinely with people. Something I started last year and we did again this year was client events, and I want to be doing more of them. I'm hoping to get to a place of doing them quarterly, and I haven't got there quite yet. But we did a roller skating party. So I just rented out the roller skating rink here in town privately. And, I'm a dad of 4 kids. That's where the stage we're at in life. So of course we have a lot of friends and family who that's where they are in life. And so a Saturday morning for 2 hours at the roller rink, it's a no-brainer. I did it in the winter months when there was nothing else to do. It was too cold out to be out hiking or whatever. And it was just fantastic. We've done that for 2 years in a row, and it's been a really great connection. And it's very clear. It's Caleb Cheshier, realtor, inviting you to come. There was a lender partner who helped provide snacks. It was mostly all about skating with a quick 5-minute talk of, hey, thanks so much for coming. We appreciate your support in our family, in our business, and our family, and all that. But those kind of things that I think is just from a genuine place, and truly something I would want to do anyways. I'd want to do that with my friends and their kids anyways. So might as well have my business pay for it, right? So I think just
another business write-off. No,
business write-off. That's right. And so just connecting with people in a way that feels genuine to you. When you start looking online at ways to find business, you can go down lots of rabbit holes, or spend lots of money, right, on Zillow leads and all this and that. But if you can find, ways to connect people in a genuine way, and they sense that and they feel that, then you will be someone that is known, liked, and trusted, and that will lead to business. And so has worked so far for me. I'm in year 10 now, which is hard to believe. Some years better than others. Some, 2023 was a pretty scary year, and that felt like, what am I doing? I think 7 transactions that year. So that was the worst. Anyways, it's continued to work for me. And so that's what I'll continue to do, and hopefully just get better at it as I go.
Love it. Yeah. And I will say 2023, 24, it was funny. I was just looking at some stuff and I was like, gosh, like it could have been better last year. And then I look at the industry as a whole and I was like, oh, okay. They're like 17 closed last year. It was like fighting tooth and nail for every deal and
Yeah.
maybe not for you, but I feel like a lot of agents felt that way, and their normal production was down. Yet
Mm.
at the same time, when you look at what last year was, it's a
Mm.
fantastic number to have,
Yeah.
um, for sure. So
Yeah, I was happy.
yeah,
Our local top producers or whatever, the real producers, I guess it's called. I made the top 200 list, and that was pretty neat.
that's
But
amazing.
yeah, just being, I don't know, I'm not trying to be too braggy. I haven't posted or said anything about it. And here it is. What,
You got to do it. You
April?
got to post it.
I at least need to make the post. A friend of mine in the business challenged me to just say it, like, be proud of yourself. It's okay.
Yeah.
And so here we go. Here's my second encouragement then to do that. And I guess I will. But yeah, super. I mean, just grateful, just thankful for my clients and the business that I have had. And um, yeah, we'll see what this year brings, of course, but it's off to a good start so far.
Awesome. And then last question I always ask everyone, is there a book or podcast recently that you think other people should be listening to?
Yeah, great question. I like anything from Brian Tracy. He's a sales guy, and maybe more like the, I don't know, 90s or 2000s or something. But I do all audio books. I don't read a lot of physical books, but audio books. So Brian Tracy has a lot of good books on just sales, mindset, how to talk to people, goal setting, that all sorts of good things there. So anything from him I like. The Go Giver is a really good book, just a
Yeah,
mindset book. It's really short. It's a real small book and 90 pages or something. It's a quick read, but just a great mindset of those who give get, and we
100%.
do it for we give for good reasons. And then a book that has been really cool. It was a really fun read because it opened up my my mind to a different industry I've never been in. Was Unreasonable Hospitality. I'm not sure if you've read
Mm.
that book. Um,
I started listening to the audiobook. I have not finished it
okay.
yet, though. So this is my reminder to now go
Yeah.
finish it.
Finish it. I thought that was a really good book. I have never worked in food service in any capacity, but it's talking about like the highest of the high fine dining in New York City, and how they got Michelin stars or whatever, was just thinking about unreasonable hospitality and taking it from what would someone normally expect from their meal experience to completely an unreasonable experience. And I just think it can be really applicable to our industry and how to give people
100%.
an unreasonable experience in real estate throughout their transaction. Was just a cool book, and it's a fun book to read. So I highly encourage that one.
I love it. Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because some of the best real estate agents I've actually seen before too have come from working the restaurants
Oh,
and
interesting.
just giving really great customer service, and
Yeah,
then actually went into real estate and they brought a lot of that. So
that's cool.
that's yeah. Someone was telling me about that book. There's a team in Texas that they mainly just hire people from the restaurant industry. So
Wow, how interesting.
yeah,
That's cool. A
so,
lot of
yeah,
related skills, I guess.
100%. Yep.
Nice. Cool.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. And I am just so excited for everyone to get so much insight from this. I think there's so many things when you look back at setting the expectations, to being able to care about your people, but yet set those boundaries, and also just being present, right?
Mm.
And I think that's your value. That's how you stand out. And so I challenge any listeners, what's your value that you are demonstrating to your clients, and really lean into that and embrace it. And I think you can build something awesome like Caleb has.
Yeah,
So,
awesome. Well, thanks so much. This is my first podcast experience, so thanks for this opportunity. It's
yay!
exciting stuff. So, Joe Rogan, here I come. No,
Perfect.
no, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And if anybody wants to reach out, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. And yeah, I'd love to answer any more questions or follow up or just connect if you want to.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Caleb.
All right, thanks, Vanna. See ya.